Um, Welcome everybody back to Off the Rails podcast, episode number 4. I'm Tone, that's Jems, and today we have special guest with us, Onside Kick specialist, GOAT, I guess, greatest of all time, I'm going to say. Chainsaw Lenon, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be on your guys' show, man. This is pretty sweet.
Man, we're glad you said yeah, man. We actually after our last episode, we kind of talked around for like, I don't know, maybe like 2 hours after we got done recording, and we were like, we really should have some guests on. We really enjoy talking to people, and especially interesting people. And your name was one of the ones that we came up with first to really like see if you would do the show. So we appreciate that you wanted to do the show.
Good with me.
Well, so I know part of me and Jems' story is that we met obviously over the internet. We're internet friends. We're both huge Pat McAfee fans. I'm actually wearing a For the Brand shirt right now, as we usually are. Yeah, so we enjoy the kicking, the art of kicking, I guess you could say, and so we really enjoy the trick shots you do. I do have one question to start with because Jems sent me one the other day from TikTok. And it's kind of a big thing for us. You kicked the ball and then I think it was a basketball.
No, it was a football.
Was it a football?
Yeah.
Oh, threw a football at the ball, but you threw it left-handed. Are you left-handed by chance?
I'm left-handed, but it's weird. Like I'm dexterous. So I right-handed, and
okay.
Then I kick right-footed, but it's weird. Like I'll throw different things with my right arm or my left arm. In the football, the weight it's heavy enough, so I throw the football left-handed, but I throw a baseball right-handed. Which is weird.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's weird. So yeah, I throw football left-handed and kick right-footed. So that trick shot's really kind of fun for me because people are like, "Well, he threw left hand," So it's different. Cool.
You just tell people you're right-handed and let them think that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Start lying out. I'd be like, "No, man, I threw with my left the other day."
That's funny. No, the reason I ask is because we are both left-handed, so it's like kind of one of our random things. So we were like, man, we should only get left-handed guests on, and then we were like, yeah, that's funny. But then and then we saw that you threw it left-handed. We were like, man, it might fit in now. So I know a lot of what you're our first guest, but I know a lot of like what we plan on doing is kind of getting people's journeys, I guess, a little bit, and figuring out kind of like what got them into the things they got into, and I guess when did kicking start for young Chainsaw Lenon?
Started at a really young age. I was like 6-7 years old, and I remember I was watching it was a Niners and Eagles game, and I remember I fell in love with it at an early age. It's just something that I saw and I wanted to do, and I knew I could do it because I played soccer growing up too, and the foot-to-ball contact just came naturally. Yeah, I mean, it was really easy, but back then I couldn't kick like, when you're a little kid, you can't kick like an actual football.
Yeah,
right.
So heavy, and I remember the ball was so heavy. I'm like, dude, these guys must super strong to kick a ball that heavy and that big. So I started out with like Nerf footballs, and the ball would react the same way. I get the same rotation, and as the older I got, the stronger I got, and then just started playing high school ball and just kind of went from there. But it's just always been a complete obsession. I don't know, it's something I love to do, and whenever I have a free moment, there's a 99% chance that I'm out kicking a football.
That's awesome. I listened to another podcast you were on, and was it the Eagles kicker that you saw kick the ball first? You said,
yeah, it was the Eagles kicker. I don't remember who it was back then.
So the reason I asked that was because I did some research, and so
David Akers.
No, he is old enough that it could have been David Akers, but no, the kicker was Tony Franklin actually.
Oh, okay.
So it was a game in 1983. Yeah.
Look, I'm impressed, Tone.
Well, I like random stats, but I thought it was cool. I was like, because I remember listening to that podcast. I was like, man, I wonder who that kicker was, and so I looked it up. Tony Franklin. He made 3 field goals that game. So
yeah, crazy because I even tried to like look it up one time, and it's so funny you did that because I was just like, I remember the Niners and the Eagles.
Yeah.
It was so vivid in my head.
Luckily, the Eagles don't play the Niners every year, so it was kind of easy to like be like,
right,
narrow it down.
And
So Jems, did you have any questions you wanted to ask?
yeah. When you were 7, instead of chainsaw, did you go by handsaw?
no, if you'd have given me a chainsaw when I was 7, I'd have fucking played with it. You know.
So that actually is interesting because I do. So I know you got your nickname Chainsaw because you actually do things with the chainsaw, obviously. So that takes a lot of hand work, obviously, to be able to do precision things. So have you just naturally always had like a good feel for your body and like what to do with it? Because obviously kicking is very foot dependent. Chainsaw obviously very hand-eye dependent. Like, is that like a normal thing for you? Are you the guy who like a bag gets knocked off at the shelf and you can grab it like before it hits the ground, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's weird. It's my friends will say I'm one of those guys that's good at everything kind of a thing. So everyone hates playing me in like random games, like I don't know, like the bag toss game or bowling, like that. Like I'm not like the best at it, but it's where I'm just like a natural athlete. So stuff like that you know.
Did you play any other sports in high school or growing up?
I played. I was an All-American weightlifter in high school. I ran track. I was all-state in track, and then I wrestled for a little bit, and then what else did I do? I think that's it. Yeah, that's about it. And then
I mean, so it sounds like you kept busy. Obviously, natural athlete helped you obviously do multiple sports and stuff like that. That's a pretty awesome thing. Did you ever? So I know, like going to college, I know you had an interesting kind of making your high school team. You had an interesting story, kind of about like your coach knew that you could kick and did like this shotgun tryout, basically.
Yeah. It was kind of a weird thing because I have an identical twin brother, and he's a stud athlete too, and he was already playing football at McQueen High School, where I went to high school, and he was already getting because he was such a freak athlete, and at that time I was still waiting to have surgery on my spine because it's weird. I explained it wrong in the wrong podcast, so I was so nervous. Like this kind of shit makes me nervous. It's weird. So, what it is it's not actually scoliosis. It's I was born with a spine defect where one of my vertebrae didn't quite develop all the way.
Okay.
So what happened was my identical twin was getting all the nutrients when we were inside my mom.
Yeah.
He was getting all the nutrients and I wasn't getting a whole bunch. So when we were born, I think I was 3.9 pounds. He was like pounds.
Oh wow!
Wow. We were like premature, and but he was stealing all the nutrients from me, and that's how. As I got older, I was always really small. I mean, still to this day, only 5'3", 150 pounds. A lot of people don't know that. But as I got older, like my shoulders started rotating, like turning down, and my grandparents were actually the ones that noticed it. They're like, there's something wrong with his back. And then they took me to was it Berkeley or one of those like nerdy medicine schools. They were like, hey dude, this is like a major issue. Your son's got some big time problems. And it turned into this big fucking ordeal, and it lasted like a year. I wasn't able to ride my bike. I couldn't play sports. I mean, I was basically like trapped in the house for like a year, kind of a deal.
Oh, wow.
And we went down for the last consultations, and the doctors completely changed their mind. They said, am I allowed to cuss on the show? Or
yeah, you can say whatever you want. We curse a lot.
So they were like, it's way too dangerous, and we're gonna cut him loose. And they cut me loose, and I got into everything. I already knew I was a good athlete, but it was finally like, okay, now it's my time to shine, kind of a deal. And that was the basis of kind of making my high school team. Was right when I was cut loose. I was already a really good kicker, and I knew I could kick for our high school team, and that was it. I kicked a couple balls for him at a random tryout. He invited me out to the field, and I kicked 5 balls, and he's like, "Seen enough."
That's a good tryout. Actually, I do have a follow-up question. That was an interesting story, but so they say all left-handed people eat their twin in the womb if they don't have a twin. Is your brother right-handed?
Yeah, he is right-handed.
Okay. So you didn't eat him in the womb. That's why it took all your nutrients, man. No. But I do find that funny. So like, I have a similar disorder, not a back, but it does affect some people's backs. I have Ehlers-Danlos, so I have really loose joints and stuff. And so, as being an athlete myself, like I dealt with a lot of weird things where they I was on and then. No, maybe it's not good. Maybe it's. I understand like the frustration and like you're like I just want to do this and I feel fine and I want to go and.
Yeah, it was I remember it was such a frustrating process, like and I think I was 15, 16 years old, and I was just like, man, like my back always hurt. It burned. It always burned a lot, like it was on fire, and I was like, but it didn't matter to me because I grew up with the pain,
Yeah.
Pain was normal to me, so it was. I didn't care about it. I was just like, I just want to go out there and play sports and like be a kid,
I can totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you were on their high school team, did you do trick shots then, or was that just all like business kicking?
No, I didn't really start doing trick shots until it was probably like 9-10 years ago was when I really started to focus on it because people were they talk to me and tell me like, dude, the things you can do with a football they're pretty amazing. There's not too many people that can do that. And it was one of those things I didn't really think the things I could do with a football were that special until people started telling me that, like, hey, there's not too many people that can onside kick their own football behind their back, 12 deep. I think it was special. I thought everybody could do it, It turns out it is special.
Well, yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, I just literally like right before we got on here, I just like went down a rabbit hole of kicks, and I was like, man, the precision, and I'm sure like obviously not all of them are first try, but I mean, just to be able to do them is like, I mean, that's ridiculous.
That is so fucking irritating. Trick shots is the first comment, you'll get on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter is like, oh, how many tries? It don't fucking matter because I'm onside kicking my own ball and catching it behind my back. And I'm not using gloves. I'm using my own hands.
Yeah.
And I can't stand those NFL gloves. My grandma can catch one-handed catches gloves. I mean,
they're sticky.
If the NFL needs to do anything, they need to get rid of those gloves because and I make sure I do all my trick shots. I'm like, no gloves. These are real hands right here.
I was going through your TikTok the other day. I started liking like everything from the bottom. I just scrolled to the bottom and I was like, I'm just going to give them a bunch of likes here. Because I feel like your TikTok is incredibly underappreciated. Like, I think there's like 26,000 followers on there, but like everything is so impressive. I don't understand why you're not up in like the millions. Like, it seems like everybody on there has 1 million followers.
Yeah. And, there's other trick shot artists out there that there's not a lot of kicking trick shot artists that do onside stuff. And, it's kind of a weird thing. I don't think people really understand like what I do and the difficulty of it, like with an American football. Even the other day I was on Sports Center and
nonchalant. The other day I was on Sports Center.
the lady, it was, I can't remember the guy's name. He's like one of my favorite guys. But even she didn't understand what had happened. It was the ball. I put the ball on the tee and I reverse onside kick it. So my back is facing the ball and I onside kick it with my heel. and it bounces into the hoop, and she called it a backwards field goal, and I was like you guys don't even understand that this is an on bounces off the ground and goes in the hoop, like
Yeah.
which blew my mind because it's Sports Center, and you think people would grasp what I do a little bit better, and I think that's what goes on with my social media too. Is I just don't think people understand what's going on a lot, you know.
I also think the
I was gonna
TikTok
say.
algorithm is kind of fucked too. It's weird how like they'll
Yeah.
promote.
Like I'll have some of my I did a trick shot about an hour ago where I onside kick the ball and I can turn the lights off and I can turn them on.
I watched it.
I thought I was like, you know what? I've done it 1,000 times. It's super easy. But I was like, you know what? Today I think maybe the algorithm will turn out in my favor. And it's so weird like that. Like maybe one days it'll catch on a little bit better, but it doesn't. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and you know, someday I believe truly in my heart someday a major company or like the NFL or just some big, like maybe Nike or somebody will catch on and be like, hey, like this guy really is special and he does have a talent. That's kind of like the thing I want the most with what I do is, you know, I want to be able to do this stuff full time. And like, I dream about being the most famous, richest kicker on the planet. You know, I think that'd be cool. I'm 44 years old and I still dream like that.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's awesome. I love the fact that you do have those dreams. And I think any football company that's not the NFL, official NFL, should be coming after you. I don't know how, like, and just it would be like, that makes most sense. I mean, you're putting the ball, you're kicking the ball more than, I mean, you're doing more with the football than any other, or even I guess athlete in the NFL is doing as far as it being persistent to the football. You would think any company that would.
Yeah, and it was so funny. Allstate got at me. The insurance company, I guess they're doing this thing with the flick kick field goal, you know, like the old school
yeah
thing, and they had this hashtag going, the Good Hands Challenge. So I was like, okay, well, Burbs do some. It was like a sponsored promotion on Instagram, so I was like, okay, well, I'll hashtag them in a couple. They got back at me and they're like, well, you're super talented with the football, but how are you with a piece of paper and some mini uprights? I'm like, the fucking paper football, man. How hard can it be?
Yeah, right. You're like, I'm using real footballs. That's
yeah, like, it's not hard, you know. But
no, I think a real company should, and I think they definitely will. I mean, I think especially. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know much about TikTok. I don't really delve into the TikTok realm. I was gonna make a poor joke about maybe you should do an onside kick with a cranberry juice in your hand, because that's about the extent I know of TikTok. But like, but no, I do think what you do is incredibly like well done, and also like the variety. Like I mean, you're not just one. Most of those people who do that kind of stuff, they can do one thing. And
yeah,
like I like watching you. I do have one question because my brain thinks really stupidly, and like I'm really intricate about things. How deep do you get into like the PSI of a football?
I get super deep into that. That's one of the most important things with what I do is the heat. Like if I'm out kicking one that's 90 to 100, the ball expands. So I make sure I have a needle with me, and when it's cold, you know, the air pressure kind of will sink. And like I'll work on a trick shot like the one I did today. That ball was probably about 12 psi. I want it a little harder so it can roll off the wall.
Yeah.
And a softer ball doesn't really work because it won't pop. It won't pop, get the height I need to flip the light switch.
Yeah.
Know what kind of air pressure I need with what trick shot I'm doing. So like when I'm onside kicking, normally that ball is 12 to 13 because I really want that pop, especially off the cement. But ones that, like when I kick the ball into the basketball hoop, like from 33 yards,
yeah,
ball is not pumped up to 12 to 13 psi. Oh, like a normal field goal NFL kicker ball. It's not that hard, because if I was kicking a 13 psi ball into a double rim hoop 33 yards away, that would take an awful long time. Now, I know I'm accurate and I have really good touch, but my foot to ball needs to match the psi of the ball to have really good touch. Does that make sense?
No, I 1,000%. The reason I asked that is because like we both come from a baseball background. Like I played baseball in college, and like they say, one of the hardest things to do is hit a round ball with a round bat. Like that's why I think of like things like, I mean, like obviously your kicking motion, your plant, your how fast you move your leg through. But like I don't think a lot of people even think like about the ball and like how it's pumped up and how consistently, like if you went out and hit 11 psi compared to a 13 psi and did the same trick, you'd have two different results.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's complete. I always have a needle in my pocket and I have my pump with me at all times.
Nice.
I'll freak out if I don't have a pump in my bag. I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to be able to do that, you know?
That's crazy. Now, see, so that's the thing is like, so that's what kind of like what we think about. That's the kind of podcast we are. We think a little bit deeper than I think most stuff on like weird stuff, but it's not like anything that's going to like solve world's problems. That like bringing in that extra awareness. I definitely think something like with just like the precision. You're almost like a doctor of kicking footballs.
Yeah, it's just it's so crazy, because if I'm not at home goofing off with my kid, goofing off with my wife, then there is a 99% chance in my head that I'm trying to think of my next shot. That's all I think about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's a constant thing in my head of this, of trying to be creative and like, what can I do next? What can I do that is impossible with a football? You know, I mean, it's just, it's nonstop. It's nonstop in my head all day long.
I was thinking as you were saying that, I was like, man, I was like, it'd be kind of cool. I don't watch it. I watch a ton of them, but I know they've gotten big off of it. But like, it'd be cool to see you do like some kind of collaboration with like the Dude Perfect dudes who do those trick shots. That'd be interesting to see what you could come up with, like with they're crazy. They have like a giant warehouse and stuff, I guess, and all this crazy shit. And it'd be interesting to see
the one thing people don't know about me is I'm not interested in doing anything with Dude Perfect.
Okay.
Not anything with legendary shots or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, and I'm not the nicest guy on the planet either. I don't want what I do, that's for me. I want my stuff. I'm not interested in making your content better because you're using my talent. I don't want that. That's my stuff. And I've had the legendary shots got at me. When was it? It was probably like 5-6 years ago. They're like, hey man, we want to do a collab with you. And at first I was like flattered. I was like, because he's major YouTube page and stuff. And they're like, well, we want you to come to Alabama and make a video. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, what, you guys gonna pay for my ticket? Or they're like, no, man, you got to pay your own way. And I'm like, what?
Oh no!
For you guys to use my talent, pay my own way, pay my own back, and then you guys are making money on your page? No, that's not how business.
No, yeah. So mine was more like for the bigger exposure, because I think like honestly something like that, like you would blow those kind of things out of the water. Like I mean, because you do like what they do is like, I guess I feel like a lot of things I could probably do if I had enough tries. Like
give me a warehouse in a whole day.
Yeah, like I could probably do it.
Invested in like people are like, well, maybe you should start like throwing stuff and throwing footballs. Do that shit all day long. It's not that hard to throw a football into a basketball hoop.
Yeah.
There's not too many people that can onside kick a football into a hoop consistently every day, and that's what I do. And I like to post every day when I'm not too sore. When I'm too sore to kick, I won't do anything, but like I want people to know how hard I'm working every day.
Yeah.
This isn't fluke luck. This is just I want people to know like my insane work ethic that I have. You know, I think that's important. There's no better feeling than getting off of work every day and know that I busted my ass every day. And not only did I go bust my ass, but I was up at 4 a.m. kicking footballs. And when I get off work after working an 8-hour shift, I'm going to go back home and kick more footballs. That's what I mean.
That's awesome. Yes, that's the kind of stuff that me and Jems actually we talked about quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like with this, like, I mean, obviously this is episode 4 for us. It's episode 9 total. We did like a couple podcasts under a different name before we did this, but I mean, that's the thing is like we're putting in work. We're like doing, and it's like, you know, that's our thing. We will always outwork people. Like we're like, I don't want to leave things to luck. I'm like, I'm going to do the work and I'm going to put it in and I'm going to work hard no matter what it is. And then I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. If I don't make it, then I don't make it. If I don't, whatever, but I'm going to know that I worked the hardest I could and I'll outwork everybody.
And that's super important to me, especially with my kids. I have 3 boys. One's almost 2, one's 7, and the other is 17. And I want them, they see how hard I work every day. And now my oldest son, he gets up, he lifts weights, he runs, he does really good in school. Like he sees that hard work pays off now. He sees what happens to me, and he sees like, hey, my dad's on Sports Center like once a month, it seems like. And he's like, he gets it now. And that's important to me, to know that my son wants to do things that I do. And that's cool. That's important. And if anything comes out of this, you know, my kids are always going to have food on the table, clothes on their back, because they know how to go out and bust their ass.
Yep.
That's what I want for my boys, you know?
Yeah, no, that's the same example. I know a lot of people, and it's like sounds stupid saying it, but like I know a lot of people who they'll be like, I don't know how you have enough time in the day to do the things you do, and I'm like, I find the time because I want my kids to see like, hey, like I'm gonna work.
That kind of stuff, like when I hear people say exactly what you just said, like, oh, I don't have the time or I'm too tired. If you really do truly love something, you're going to sacrifice time and sleep somewhere else in your life to go fucking do what you want to do.
Definitely.
It's the lazy fucking way out. Like, do I get up at 4 a.m. sometimes? No. But I do, because if I don't, I'm not going to find the time, you know, the day when I'm working 8 hours. And then sometimes finding the time when I come home from work, my wife is exhausted from watching the kids all day and she needs a break. Mm-hmm. So if I know if I get up at 4 a.m, I'm going to get that fucking time to do what I need to do, you know? And there's no fucking such thing as, oh, I don't have time, or I can't do this and I can't do that. Like, I don't want to hear fucking excuses. Just get up and grind and bust your fucking ass. It's not that hard.
I feel like if we just clipped that like last 20 seconds right there, and then like with a video of you kicking a Spalding or Wilson football, that's a Wilson or Spalding commercial. And then
yeah,
like honestly, like that's legitimately like, because I think that's the biggest thing, especially with all of us being dads. Jems has two kids. Jems?
I have two. Third one on the way.
Yeah, third one on the way. I have 3 kids. You have 3 kids. I mean, being a dad alone, I think guys technically a lot of times get like kind of the short end of the stick, and they're like, "Oh, you're just the dad. You're just the mom does everything," which a lot of women do a lot of things, but like we're also have to be there for our kids. Like if you're a good dad, you're gonna be there. Like so, you still have to be a person though too. And so like I think you just have, like you said, you have to make the time. You can't say there's not enough time. You just have to make the time.
Yeah, and that's a huge deal for me. Is like, like I tell my kids, because my oldest son Rickson loves basketball. Like, truly love it. You'll find the way to get something done. Like if someone, are you gonna like? I tell this to people too. Like if someone paid you $1 million to get up at 4 a.m. for an entire year, would you do it? Fuck yeah, you would do it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the same way I feel. I believe one of these days I'll get like a little piece of the pie, the company noticing me or something. And, you know, that's just my mentality. And getting up at 4 a.m, that's going to fucking help me get to where I want to be.
Yeah. The funny thing is I was thinking, because I work in sales but I've worked in marketing and business and a lot of other things throughout my life. And the other thing I noticed, other than thinking about the PSI of your football, was I noticed you kick a certain gold ball multiple times in a lot of the videos. I don't know how some company hasn't come to like have you design a football. It'd be your own football, and then you'd kick it all the time. And then obviously it's getting on SportsCenter. That's a free advertisement. Like that's a, I mean,
yeah. And those are my favorite footballs. They're old Wilson composite footballs. I don't kick real leather footballs because I would just destroy them within like, I mean, they'd be scratched up and dry out. These composite balls are like $20 to $30, so I cycle through footballs pretty quick, especially with onsides.
Yeah.
But those gold composite balls are my favorite, and I've told Wilson, I was like, hey, dude, these are my favorite footballs to kick. If you guys want to use a video, you're more than welcome. And right now they haven't, but shit, maybe one day they, and that'd be cool. I mean,
well, that's the thing. I was just thinking. I know Jems is going to ask something, but I don't know how some company doesn't come to you to be like, hey, like, can you make like a 4 different color panel football? We'll make it however you want it, and it'll be the chainsaw ball, and then every time you're on SportsCenter or every time it's on something, that's just like people are gonna be like, oh, that ball is really colorful. I wonder, and then they'll see it in Target, and then they'll buy it, and then it's like, it's wild.
My wife and I talk about it constantly. It's at least every other day. Like, one of these days, someone's gonna get it, And then I always feel like every day when I do a shot or get off work, and like there's gonna come a point where I've been doing this for almost 10 years straight.
Mm-hmm.
And the older I get and the longer I do this, there's no way in hell someone's not going to notice or pay attention to it.
Yeah.
I think Pat noticing and asking to
definitely.
stuff is going to be huge. And he retweets you quite a bit, and he's got 2 million Twitter followers.
That's the coolest thing, because I love Pat. Like, just the stuff he does. He's different. He's outside the box. He's, like he says, he's not for everybody. Sometimes he rubs people the wrong way. Just to have someone, especially a specialist and a former NFL punter, like one of the best ever, to understand the difficulty of what you do and how often you can do it. It doesn't really get any bigger. Like, it doesn't really get any bigger for me sports-wise right now when someone like Pat helps me out like that, which is really cool, because a lot of people don't understand kicking, and a lot of people think kickers aren't athletes, which is total fucking bullshit. So we are. I mean,
I was gonna say me and Jems have probably dealt with that on the other end. A lot of people don't think pitchers are athletes either. So
yeah, guys, understand.
I would say the pitching is almost the kicking of baseball. I mean, it's almost
right. We could have our own for the brand. Just just a battery.
Yeah, and it's just like every time, like even like when Pat likes a video, I'm like, dude, that's so fucking cool that he's one of the biggest like sports names out there right now, and he's goes out of his way and takes his time to like help me out, which is really, that's special to me. And I just, one of these days I'm gonna get what I've been searching for, And
definitely,
it's
right. I believe it. I see it, and it's like it's hard to tell. Like, so my daughter, she's a basketball. She plays basketball. She's fallen in love with basketball, and she plays AAU. And I tell her the same thing, those same things. I'm like, you know what? She's like, I'm 12, and she's like, I can't do that. And I'm like, you know what? There's a bunch of 12-year-olds that can't do that. But if you keep working.
Mm-hmm.
And if you work 15 minutes more than the other kid, you're putting in 15 minutes of work every day, and that's going to add up and add up and add up. And where I was going with that was like, you have these things that like, you just see it in somebody, and I'm sure somebody from listening to that other podcast, it seemed like your wife saw it and obviously got you back into kicking. It seemed like, and it's the same thing. I see it in my daughter. Like the first time she picked up a basketball was 4th grade. And the second she did, I turned to my wife and I said, I don't know. She was a gymnast up until about 2 years ago, and she loved it from the age of 2 to like 10, 8 years. But when she picked that basketball up, I turned to my wife and I said, "This is her thing. Like, I don't know what it is, but
You just know.
it's that's it. Like, I could see it. Like, and it's become her thing, and not by any doing of me, because like I was a baseball player and I would love for her to play softball or something like that. But like she just has fallen in love, and you can almost see it when somebody has that, and you can see that X factor almost with you when you're kicking. It's like there's more than just you kicking a ball. It's like there's joy in that. There's like fun, and it's like there's almost like life in your video.
Yeah, and the cool thing is like when I get off of work, I go do trick shots in my work clothes. I don't have to go home and works on. Like, it doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I'm just gonna go kicking whatever the hell I'm in. I always my kicking shoes with me, my indoor outdoor soccer cleats. They go everywhere with me. My footballs go everywhere with me. And I don't know.
Are those the same shoes that you wore when you kicked in the Arena League? Are those just
they're identical? The one I kicked in the Arena League, that one's actually on a shelf in the house now, so it has a hole in the bottom of it because it's so worn. So, and it's a special shoe for me because I kicked my first pro kick and got my first pro onside with that shoe. So I'm like, okay, this thing's retired. So I got some new ones.
How long were you with? Was the Reno Express? Is that what they were called?
Yeah, it was the rail. I got hurt the first game, and I was actually hurt before mini camp. I was doing kickoffs, and I hurt my knee real bad, and I could tell there was something wrong. And but I knew at my age, I was like, if I don't make this team now, then I don't know if I'm going to get another opportunity to do that. So what I was doing is I wore 3 knee braces. I popped way too much Advil, and just so I could like try out for the team and kick. And I ended up making the team, and my knee was it was pretty messed up. And I actually got hit on my first pro PAT. I got lit up like a Christmas tree, and it was the hardest I've ever been hit in my life. I knew after that, like, okay, my knees messed. My wife and my kids just saw me get lit up like a Christmas tree. And I had told my wife too, if I want to make my first pro kick and I want to get an onside in the game, and those are my goals. And I did it in my first game. So I was just, I really don't have anything else to prove. Now, if I wasn't hurt, I would have continued on, but I knew if I didn't like take a break and like get my knee better, and then there was a possibility that I was going to be able to kick again because my knee was that messed up. And I decided to tell the coach, I was like, hey, dude, my knee's too messed up to do this right now. And plus, I mean, in arena football, you don't get paid very well either. It pretty good, like with my trick shot videos. And I was like, well, I want to be able to continue to kick. So it was kind of a business decision too. Like, hey, do you want to go out and get lit up for $125 a game and a $25 bonus for a win? Or do you want to be able to continue to do what you love for the rest of your life? And
definitely. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And also like, it kind of reminds me, and it kind of leads into a question that I had kind of with your story. I know obviously there was a time where you didn't kick for a while. Was that something where like, because I know for me, when I ripped my arm off basically the muscle off my bone on my arm, I did it twice. I couldn't pitch anymore. I kind of had to make this decision of a doctor literally told me, like, we can repair it. If you rip it again, though, you could possibly have a shaky hand for the rest of your life. You might never be able to hold your kids. You know what I mean? Like, and I was 19. I didn't have kids, but I was like, there was a part of me that I was like, I had to make a business decision, and my business was my life. Like, I have a lot more lifetime than I have doing this ball thing, but it made it really hard for me to watch baseball for a long time, or even like look at a baseball without almost being resentful during that span where you weren't kicking. Did you feel any of that? Or was it just out of sight, out of mind, or
I still have a hard time like watching football. Like, I'm not that big into football. like the NFL, and the only thing I love is kicking. Like watching the PATs, watching the field goals, watching the onside. I love that part of the game. Now, as far as like wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks, I don't give a rat's ass about that stuff. I have no interest. Just the special teams part of it is what I love about it. But when I wasn't kicking for that period of time, I wanted nothing to do with football. I didn't want to watch it. I don't know, because part of me is because I wasn't that into it anyway, other than kicking. But as far as watching it, I had no interest in it. And it's very funny that you mentioned that too. Is when I was in high school, it was my freshman year, and I got cut from the basketball team as a freshman, and me and my brother were people. It was one of those things in school where people were like, "Wow, how the fuck are you guys not on the team?" Like nobody. It made no sense. Like it was bonk. And it's the same thing. Like I couldn't watch basketball. I was like, there's no fucking way I could watch a basketball game. And damn, if I was gonna go watch them play, me and my brother should be on the team. It's very similar,
Yeah.
Situation. But yeah, the time where I wasn't kicking, I couldn't give a rat's about football at all,
Yeah, I wondered that just because I know how much it took me a long time, and like I think, like I said, I stopped playing at 19, and I don't think I really watched a baseball game probably until, man, I was probably like 27 before I sat down and watched a baseball game and kind of could really like not have feelings about it. You know what I mean? Like it was just so much of my life like that. I was like, I did definitely wonder that because I know you did have you were talking on this other podcast about some of the stuff you go through, and if you wanted to share that, awesome, because I have some similar like experiences, but I think it brings so much to your story of so much of like how much like one thing, like I mean kicking a football really honestly seemed to have like in a way saved your life or like got you back to like being who you are as a human.
Yeah, it's a huge outlet too, I don't take medication. I'm really big on not taking the medication I'm supposed to take, because I've been on some medication that made me absolutely suicidal, and I've been suicidal quite a few times. But the medication I was on was just like I was convinced I was gonna go get up in the morning and go jump off a bridge. Like it was like it was such a powerful drug I was on, and I was already struggling for something to make me think that way and alter my mind to a point where you're going to do that. It was crazy. And I told my wife about that, and she's like, "You're not taking that shit ever again." And I do microdose with mushrooms now. I'll do that about every other day. It's something I haven't really talked about. Let me move this on my phone. It's bugging the shit out of me. There we go. Keeps fucking DMing me. Knock it off. Okay, here we go. So I do microdose with mushrooms now, and it's really helped a lot. And even I still go to therapy. I see a counselor, and he's even talked about it and says, "Hey, it's something you should try out too." These are proven things now. It's not taboo. I'm not in my house shrooming my balls off. It's completely different. It's monitored. Well, with my wife, she's helped out in that department a lot, and but just trying to change it up and think outside the box a little bit, because another reason why I get up at 4 a.m. is because extreme physical activity like that, for like sprinting, running, that has the same effects as like Paxil or like Zoloft. It's the same thing. You're getting the same benefit, but you're inducing it yourself instead of taking a pill. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
No, totally.
It's the same effect, and that's one of the reasons why I'm up at 4 a.m. Like sometimes, do I want to get up? No, but there's a huge benefit psychologically for me too. and that's another reason why I do it. And on top of just loving kicking too. So
yeah. And now I know from the other podcast, you say you practice in your garage like early in the morning. That's kind of like when you get that time in and practice. I was gonna say also, like, totally understand on the medicine side. So like my brother's bipolar manic depressive. Like I've watched him go through pill cycles and pill cycles and pill cycles and for years, like, and he found something finally that like doesn't, and he's an artist for a living. So like a lot of things would make him not creative. And he was like, man, he's like, I don't know how to manage this. He's like, I want to be good, but I don't want to lose my creativity. And like, he's finally like a couple of years ago found something that really worked for him. But like, I mean, it's a brutal process. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think enough people like really talk about the mental health side of just life in general, but like somebody who has like thinks outside of the box, you know?
Yeah. And it's stuff I've dealt with for so long. And my doctors that we've talked about, the bipolar one, I was diagnosed with PTSD and then major depression. And but just like as far as like what you say, like the pill aspect of it, it's just like after a while I'm just like, dude, fuck that. Like it's so weird. It's something so easy, but it gets to the point where you as a human, you're just like, dude, am I gonna have to take this shit for the rest of my life to feel the way other people feel? You start second guessing that, even though you know it's probably something that will benefit you. It's just some people just don't want to do that. And then as far as like I said, the side effects that I've had, it's not fucking worth it, you know. I think the route I'm on now is keeping up with my counseling, being proactive, and talking to my wife, talking to my brother. There's something that's not going to go away. It's never going to go away. But there's things that you can do to help yourself every day. And that's what I try to do. I try to best help myself every day. And that's all you can do, you know? I think, like I always talk about, like one of these days I'll get, I don't mean to sound like pompous or like I want my piece of the pie kind of a deal. I mean it in a way where if Nike, Reebok, or like actually knew like what you go through, like could actually physically film me when I'm going through mania or at my lowest, like to have like I think like a commercial of like what someone who has like serious mental health problems goes through, but has this crazy fucking talent, you know?
Yeah.
Like how strong of a story is that for other people to see? Because there's other people that have like tons that have mental health issues. There's people all over that deal with the same exact stuff, but just to use what people go through, like what I go through, and then to show an insane skill, like that can be a powerful story and help so many people. That's what I'm not, sometimes like when I try to put shit together, I can't do it very well, but does it make sense, like what I'm saying?
No, it totally makes sense. Yeah, no, I was actually thinking like one of the things while you were talking about that is like, I know like you mentioned companies, but like, man, like I could see you doing like a TED talk, man. Like you seem like a very motivational speaker type guy, like, but like not like the bullshit ones, like
can
the ones
you rip
like,
a phone book in half?
Yeah.
but somebody who actually like really has something to say and like has something that like you feel it when they say it, like, you know what I mean? Like you come across as a guy that like I'm hearing you talk and like you're like, man, like he doesn't have a veil up. It's like this is him. He's telling you exactly who he is. He's telling you what it is. And to see somebody and having been on that side, I feel it maybe too, is like watching my brother, who's someone who was incredibly artistically talented and does it for a living, lose that creativity because of like stuff like that, or like watch him go through the ups and downs and the struggles and still have this crazy talent with it. Is like you have to like I see what you're saying, and I think that would be incredibly motivating, and it's part of what motivates me to do, like, I mean, because I don't have those issues, like I don't have luckily I don't deal with an intense depression per se. I have throughout parts of my life. I do go to therapy. That is something that I do, and I think it's beneficial. But like to watch him go through something much worse and still come out on the other side, I'm like, man, if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, what the fuck am I complaining about? Like, you know what I mean? Like those kind of things. Like just a normal person can connect with that. Like,
yeah, it's really just like when you have that's like the total chemical imbalance, and so it's weird. Like with me, when I know when I'm getting bad, and it starts around 1-2 in the morning, and it's fucking bizarre. But there's like I'll shake, and it's fucking weird. Like I'll physically shake, and then I'll get up, and then there's this crying that goes on for. It goes on. It can go on from like 5 to 6 hours, and it's like nonstop. It's like someone ran over your dog, kind of thing. But it's just you can, like I'll try to stop it, but you can't. And it's just like you get to this point where you're like, when the fuck is this gonna end? When is the shaking gonna stop? And it's the mornings, like from 0 to 7 were like traumatic as fuck for me, because of the shit that was done and I dealt with, and but how I can equate it to, I'm gonna ramble for a minute. So
no, you're good, man.
So people talk about PSD a lot, like oh yeah, but you weren't in a fucking war, and but yeah, that like anybody that has common sense, and I can tell by talking to you guys have common sense. You don't have to be in a fucking war to have PTSD, and you don't have to. Is war traumatizing? Fuck yeah, it is. Are there other things in life that are traumatizing that can change people? Yes, there are. So if you think about someone like kids that go through physical abuse from the time they were born to the time they were 7 years old, like just imagine how long. That's a long fucking time.
Yeah.
And there's people that go through stuff like that, like from 0 to 14, 0 to 15, 0 to 18. Like that stuff never ends. And those people, I'm worried about those people. You know, I had dealt with it for, a long period of time, but there's people out there that go through this shit constantly. And sometimes it's never going to end. And it's just that kind of a deal. Like PTSD it's not just for a certain section of people, like military and stuff like that. This is common stuff for the everyday man. This happens to people all the time, and it's weird. It's I don't know. It's I don't know.
It's well that's the thing. So like I know a few people that actually like have diagnosed PTSD, and most of them it does not come from being in the military or war or anything like that. I did watch my dad struggle with it, and he was a military guy, but that's the thing, is like the almost the misnomer that like PTSD is a military thing. I mean, I think the military brought it more to light, but like the T in PTSD is trauma, and there's a lot of trauma that literally happens on a daily basis. I mean, like I've been in my line of work. I've been in convenience stores when they were robbed at gunpoint. I'll be the first one. It didn't get to that point, but I can tell you for a couple of weeks after that every time I heard the door buzzer on a convenience store open, I definitely took a peek. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a small version, but like a PTSD, something like that can stick with you for ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's, I think people just need to realize more so that like, people deal with that stuff, and it can be debilitating, but it seems like you found a way to work what you love into almost being able to beat that battle.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where like mental health is at the forefront now. And, but I think one of the things that has a lot to do with mental health is child abuse. Is like when I talk about telling my story and what I would eventually want to happen with me in my life, like if we really want to start kicking mental health in the butt, then there's one thing that we all need to do: stop beating the fuck out of your kids, stop abusing your kids, because That is huge, because that's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like would I be where I'm at today if I'd have had a normal childhood? Probably not. You know, now don't get me wrong. Are there people that are born with these
Mental health issues.
their brain? Yeah, of course there are, but I think that's one thing that really needs to be brought to the forefront of mental health is child abuse, because it starts right then and there. Stop putting your hands on your kids. Stop being mean to your kids. I mean, that's a huge thing. And that's one thing I think that needs to get started, is linking those two together, because it starts at a young age. And look what happens to people as they go on through life. All of a sudden, when they become 22, 25 years old, all of a sudden they're like, where the fuck did these problems come from? Like, all of a sudden things catch up with you. And that's something that's really not talked about a lot.
No.
Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
It actually hits home a lot. Like, I mean, for me, especially like being a dad, like I know, for me, I've had to check myself, and I will tell you, I'm far from perfect. I'm there's times where I catch myself and I'm like, okay, I got to stop. There's times where I've throughout my life for sure gone overboard. I've never beat my kids or anything like that, but like just being loud and like that stuff can be triggering. And I know that stuff is something that I have to work on. Recently I was just actually one of the searches on my phone right now is like, I was looking at doing like an anger management course, not because I've necessarily been angry lately, but just like having some things that are like those in my life, like to remind myself of stuff and like just to better myself, because I know that's a long road. And I know a lot of that comes from my childhood trauma, and more so the fear of like, I don't want something to happen to my kids. You know what I mean? Like, and so like I see them do something and I'm like, don't do that. And then it's like, okay, like I don't like it, but like then it comes out in the wrong way. Cause I'm like, don't do that. And like, but then it's like, I don't want you to do that. Cause I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want this to happen. So it's like, trying to figure out, but how I was in my household, voices got raised, names got called. And so like, that was stuff that I had to like figure out how to work around, and realize that just because that was the example set to me doesn't mean that's the example that I need to set, and it's like, it's tough because you fall into those like emotions of like, that feels normal. And I feel like I'm a fine person. So like, obviously my raising wasn't that bad, but then realizing going to therapy and realizing like, okay, that's not normal. That's not normal. You shouldn't do that. Like, it really takes a lot of mental inventory and you to actually like pour into yourself to like really figure out what you need to stop doing. And I think a lot of people don't realize some of their actions aren't good, and they're not putting forth good behavior.
Yeah, that I totally understand where you're coming from. Is like, me and you sound very similar. Is like, the way I treat my kids, like, because I have kids. Like, Sebastian is 7 years old, and so this is about the tail end of like when everything stopped. Is when I was a kid, and so when I see him, I'm like, fuck. And even Hudson's almost 2. I'm like, what kind of a monster do you have to be, to just to be like that, And so just picking my kids up, I fight and fucking wrestle my kids nonstop. I slam them. We goof off. We have fun. It's just like, I'm very physical and very active in their life. And I was just like, how can you not be like that with your kid? You know, like, how can you not be that kind of a dad, like hands on? And I get it. Everyone's different. Some people, weren't raised like that, but like, there's one thing I wanted when I became a dad is like, I never want my kids to not know that I don't love them. Like, I go out of my way. I probably tell my kids 20 times a day I love them. I probably tell my wife 20 times a day I love her. And that's important. Like, they need that. They need that sense of security, and that's my job, is to give it to them,
So in talking about like the mental health side of things and how football kind of like came back into your life. So I know on the other podcast you had mentioned about this moment where like you got to, obviously an all time kind of, I would assume, low, like you decided that this was the end. And I've been there. I actually tried to commit suicide. Same thing. Luckily, the thing that snapped me out of it was my brother called me. For some reason, I answered the phone and it snapped me out. And I think about it often. As I'm 37 years old, I did it at about 18. So I'm about a lifetime away from that moment. And it's like really thinking, in those moments, like where like that, those kind of things happen. I guess like, I wouldn't say how often do you deal with it, but like, is that like something where you're like, okay, like I know like with what I deal with, it's not going to go there, but like, is it something where you're just like, man, I really wish like that was something I didn't have to deal with? Or do you feel like, sometimes maybe that's what makes the opposite side of things when you do have the joys of the kicking a ball feel better, like for you, if that makes sense?
It's weird. The last time, the only people I really tell, like my wife knows a lot, my brother knows a lot, but the last time I was going to commit suicide was 2 months ago. And, it's weird. Like I never think I'm going to get back to that point. Like,
yeah,
like today I'm haven't, like today's great. I haven't had, last time I was really bad, it was 2 months ago. But when it gets to that point where it gets to the point, and what people don't understand is it's like it's the only thing that makes sense to not feel what you're feeling anymore. And there's nothing else makes sense but that, and it's I hear people talk about suicide a lot, and they're like, oh, but it's a selfish act and it's the easy way out. And I've heard that like for so many years, as I've gone through like this process, is like, it's not. When someone gets to that point, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're not there anymore. And that's just it. When people commit suicide or kill themselves, they're gone. And they're gone mentally, and that's the only thing that makes sense, is to get out of it. And it's weird. It's me and my wife talk about it a lot because I've dealt with it so much. And she's had friends and other people talk about mental health issues, and it's just weird. Like when you get to the point where you think your own death is the only way to get out of the way you're feeling. I mean, I don't know. It's so, almost in a way, like, it's as fucking bizarre as this sounds. It's almost peaceful because you're not gonna have to deal with that anymore. It might sound bizarre.
No, I totally understand it.
Yeah, it's what makes sense. And when I get to that point, like the last time I was gonna do it, I told my wife how I felt, what I was gonna do, and I was completely out of it. I was gonna take the car, I was gonna torch the car, and then I was gonna slit my wrists.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, why were you gonna torch the car? I'm like, no, like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
It's one of those things that it's what makes sense. And when you get to that point, and as bizarre as that sounds, that's with people that have the things that, these issues, what they deal with, and some deal with it more than others,
Definitely. Well, it's so hard to explain to anyone who hasn't almost been to that moment. Like, I've talked to, like, I know obviously with my brother's mental health stuff, he's been there. I've been there. And I have a couple other friends who have been to that point. Like, I mean, like I've done, like, I mean, I did it. I mean, I put a blade to my wrist and I slashed it. You know what I mean? Like, I've been there. I've been to the point where I made the decision, and I understand exactly what you just said. Like, sometimes you're just like, that's the thing. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense. Like, in that moment. And so, like, I get it. I get that. And it's like, it's tough to explain to anybody who hasn't been there. But it's like no one wants to be in that spot. I think everybody wants to be like, hey, I feel great. I feel good. I I love my life. But like, I mean, I think a lot of people, more people than will probably admit it, have thought down that path. How far they've gone down the path is a whole different story. But I mean, like, I think once you've been there, I think you know what that means, and it goes one way or another. And I think for you, probably the thing that probably stops you is having gone to that point and being like,
yeah,
okay, like now you almost have a comfort in it. It's almost like kicking a football in a way. You've done it, so you've done it enough that you're like, I know that that's not going to happen, but that's where you can get to, and you're like, okay, I don't feel uncomfortable about it, like. But it doesn't mean that it's like it's a flaw per se, I guess. Like,
yeah, and it's something that just like when you have like such a good support system, like that is, there's people out there that don't have that kind of a thing, you know. And like I said, the thing I want to do is use my talent and get something that's super important to me and to the rest of the world, society right now. And let's talk about this. Let's get this on the table and figure this out, because this happens like us, like mental health is it's at the front of the game now, you know.
yeah,
It's something that needs to be out there, and I feel like I can bring something to the table, you know. And that's what I want, you know. I mean, it's funny, like, I don't it's do I want to be rich and famous? Yeah, I do, but there's so much more than that, you know.
yeah,
Like, even if I did get rich, me and my wife talk about this all the time, even if I did get rich, I'd fucking end up giving it all away anyway, you know, because that's what we do. That's the kind of people we are. Like, we'd go buy our mom a house, we'd go buy our fucking friends' houses so they wouldn't have to work again.
yeah.
That's the kind of people we are. Like, I want that kind of stuff so I can give it to other people.
Yeah. Well, the thing that money does, I think that I think a lot of people don't think about when if they're selfish, they definitely don't think about it. But the thing that money does is it creates the opportunity to help other people find something for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, if you do it right, like, you're like, you know, maybe helping somebody retire because you have a ton of money now allows them to go do something they love to do. So now what you love to do has created the wealth for you to be able to go have somebody else do something they would love to do. Like, that's really what it, I think the need of it is. And like, it's like, I think more people are starting to kind of see, like, hey, like, I don't need, like, Jeff Bezos, does he need $190 zillion? Probably not. Like, but he's doing some stuff. I don't know all of his financial details, but obviously it seems like he's doing some putting money back into the earth or whatever the hell it is that he's putting money into. And it's like, I think people are starting to realize, like, all of the money doesn't buy happiness for sure. And I think but you can get somewhere out of it.
Yeah.
It has a need.
It's so fun. It's so weird because I've have some wealthy family members, and just like, and we're talking like really wealthy.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where nobody was happy. They weren't happy. And I'm like, and me and my wife talk about that a lot. That sounds bad, but I'm like, how do you fuck that up, man? Like,
yeah.
Like, how do you, maybe it's just the way we think. But there's so much shit doesn't have to be that hard, you know?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. And I don't, and like I said, I don't think I'm very much like, so my creative process very much starts with, how can I be of the least financial impact? Like, what I'm doing be the least financially impactful on, like, my family. So, like, I think backwards. Like, I know a lot of people are like, if I invest in this financially, then I could get this, and this, and then that will take me to this. And I'm like, what can I start for nothing and turn into everything?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, and that starts with me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love, we're doing this podcast. This podcast isn't paying me anything, but it could. But like, I love it. It's feeding into me as a person, which means I'm going to go be a better husband, a better father, a better worker, a better person. Yeah. And then the cycle needs to start somewhere, right?
Exactly. And I'm really big on you become what you think kind of a deal. That's huge with me. And like when I'm driving from job site to job site, like I just told you earlier, the only thing I talk about is I'm going to be the most famous and richest on the planet. That's all I tell myself. And it's weird how like great things happen to you when you think like that, like all day long, like Pat McAfee will take a video and all of a sudden my phone will go off like a slot machine, and it's weird things like you truly do become what you think, you know. And
Yeah.
it's fact, the things that you put out, it's science. Like you put it out there and it's out there, you know. And
Oh
I
yeah.
so much. I mean, I've been doing that for like the last 5 years, and there's no way it's not gonna not pay off, you know.
Well, that's the crazy thing. So like the Pat McAfee thing's really cool. So like part of, and the thing I really bond with you on. So like Pat actually has done a lot for me as well. Getting into this thing, I love podcasts. I love the whole thing of it, like the design of it, like how it's put out, how people find it, how everything about it. Like I just and it's also very like therapeutic. Like listening to podcasts and hearing other people's stories and like realizing you're probably more similar to a lot of people than you realize, and like other stuff. And so I started by just making graphics because I enjoyed it. I made these graphics of like for Pat's show and I post them, and then Pat followed me on Twitter and I was like, oh, that's cool. That's pretty awesome. And then one day I'm working and I posted something and Pat DM'd me and was like, hey, what's your number? I want to talk to you. So we talked on the phone, and like, you know, we've talked a few times about like potentially working for him. Nothing's panned out from it. We just haven't found the right thing or whatever. But just to know that like, that's kind of like, I was like, you know what? I say all the time, follow your dreams. And like, I didn't really have a dream after baseball. I thought that was it. And then I was like, I kind of really do like this. And I kind of felt stupid for thinking it almost like in my moment. I was like, man, like I could do something podcast wise. I bet you I could do something. I wouldn't say it out loud for the longest time. And then, but just having somebody be like, reach out for something that you did like creatively. And it was like, hey, like you're of value. And I was like, you know what? If Pat's calling me, even though nothing's come of it, that might mean there's got to be something there. And then ever since then, I was like, you know what? I'm going to full bore do what I can do. And now I produce a few podcasts and I do graphics for people and I do this podcast and all this stuff. And it's just speaking it into existence. And you know what? I have no doubt that at some point I will do this full time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's cool. I mean, you think about it enough and it's eventually going to come true. And it's so funny how we're all three of us are very similar in that way. And I love that you guys have that, like that grind, that work ethic, and that's what's gonna make it, you know.
Yeah.
That's what videos is. Work ethic paves the way. You know, I'm not here to take a fucking easy way out, you know.
No, it wouldn't be worth it if it was easy.
No.
Like if you were like, I'm gonna make one kicking video and then I'm gonna have $1 million. It'd be great, but you'd be like, man, that was too easy. Like I want to know. I want to know I got dirt on my hands. I want to know I got, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what makes you feel good about yourself, and that's important. You know, I mean, I just don't understand like how people can get up, fucking sleep in till 11, 12 o'clock. Like, how can you do nothing all day? Like, how the fuck do you do that? You know?
I don't know.
Insane, man.
I get bored. I get bored real quick, and I'm like, man,
yeah,
I could be doing something right now, and I should. And that's what my driver is. My driver is like, I want to do stuff from the time I get up to the time I'm done, whether it be my actual job or whether it be like progressing this or progressing that or whatever it is. Like, I want to know that I took, even if it's 1%, I got 1% better today.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And so with that, like I kind of wanted to segue because I've taken quite a bit of your time and I appreciate that. And, but I did want to segue into some of the things that like, maybe do you have any kicks that like, do you have a kick that is like something where you're like, okay, I'm going to need to build up to this kick, and maybe I need to learn this skill, but then also maybe I need to have this big platform to be able to do something so grandiose. Is there like a dream kick?
I actually do have a dream kick, and we're gonna try it this week. I can't really tell what it is.
Yeah, no, I don't want you to give away any secrets, but
it's a dangerous kick. Like if I break this thing,
yeah,
I get in a lot of trouble. But my skills, I trust my skills, and I mean, I can drop it. I can hit the backboard. I can hit the rim consistently with an on. Now this object is a little higher.
Okay.
So the PSI of the ball is going to be pretty pumped up.
Yeah.
But I've been wanting to do this trick shot for 3 years now, and I've pulled up to it, and been like, my heart's beating, my heart's racing, and I'm do it. Should I do it? Should I do it? And I won't do it. I'll chicken shit out. But I trust my skills so much right now that I think it has to be a one and done.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like we get one go. We
get one go at this, and I've tried it before. I've actually kicked at the object, but off to the side.
Okay.
And the ball went high enough, and it will go through. But then there were so many people across the street, the box drive-through, and I was like, damn it. So I took off.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do the shot. And I'm going to try and get it done this week.
Well, that's dude, it's awesome that you have that like thing. So the funny thing is you were like, I pulled up to it so many times that I'm like, part of me was like, I wanted to ask, you did you ever skateboard? You a skateboarder?
No, I have a couple longboards and some normal skateboards, but mostly I just longboard. I can't really do any on a skateboard, but I can onside kick. I can ride a skateboard and onside kick it and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I do think I saw a couple of those. No, the reason why I say that is like that was me with skateboarding. Like because baseball came fairly easy. I mean, it was a lot of work, but like it was something. But like skateboarding, I was like, man, all my friends were better. And I remember we got to the point where we started doing rails, and I was like, man, that was my thing. I'd roll up to it so many times. It'd take me a while to be like, all right, I'm just gonna go for it. And then finally I'd go for it. And
this is that shot in I mean, I know I can do it. I told my wife, I was like, if something bad happens, I'll get in trouble for it.
Yeah, I mean, gotta go for it, right? Go for the gusto.
That dialect.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I think you already are a legend, sir. But like, I mean, you're just your kicks are everywhere. They're getting bigger and bigger, and like, I think people are really going to take notice. And I got a feeling that you're gonna be a big star pretty soon, man. Like the stuff that you're doing is like no one else is doing it, and you have the work ethic and the passion for it that you can't fail at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me on the show. It means a lot.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you taking the time. Last thing I want to do, I want to make sure everybody can find you that does watch this. Where it's the best places, and like what's the names for people to find you and help kind of push you forward.
The best places is my Instagram page, which is Chainsaw Lenon. My Twitter page is the same thing, and then my TikTok page is Chainsaw too. So I usually post trick shot videos like once a day, and I'm just gonna keep doing it,
Right, just keep on keeping on, knock that stuff out. So for anybody who's listening to this, watches it, goes checks out his stuff. I urge you guys to like share, if you can, like retweet it, share it. That helps to get to your people, and then maybe one of them retweets it, and that's how you create a storm out of a little lightning bolt. For sure. So help this man get far. And also, if there's anybody who owns a company that could sponsor this man, definitely should, because you might as well attach your horse to him now, because it's going to be huge. Mr. Chainsaw, we appreciate you coming on. I guess we'll end the podcast there. Everybody, thanks for watching, and we will catch you guys on the next episode.
All right, guys, man.
All right, later.